Imagine this, Mags. People are actually saying that Eddie Howe could leave Newcastle to take over at Manchester United. Sounds like a joke, doesn't it? But it's true, and that's exactly what we're talking about today. I'm Rodrigo, and you're watching Newcastle Mania, the channel made by a fan, for fans, who live and breathe Newcastle United. And listen, you blinked, and Newcastle is making headlines everywhere. But hold on, that huge story about Howe is coming at the end. Before that, we've got two massive updates you need to hear, and I promise, it's worth sticking around until the final story. And while you're here, if you love Newcastle and want to keep up with everything happening at our club, hit that subscribe button right now. It costs nothing, it helps a lot, and it makes all the difference. First up, let's talk about our old friend Alexander Isak. Remember all that drama he created to force his way out of Newcastle? Well, it looks like the tables have turned. Over at Liverpool, the fans are already losing patience with him. He cost them £125 million, a record-breaking transfer fee, and so far, he's delivered next to nothing. Just to give you an idea, in the last Champions League match against Galatasaray, he spent almost 40 minutes on the pitch and touched the ball only 4 times. Yes, Mags, 4 touches in nearly half a game. And to make matters worse, Salah came on at the same time, managed 19 touches, and was involved all over the place. That's a huge difference for someone who arrived as a superstar signing. And, of course, the Liverpool press didn't hold back. The papers are slating him, saying he looks out of shape, lacks sharpness, and needs to step up and take far more responsibility. Some commentators even pointed out that none of this should be a surprise, because Isak himself ruined his own preseason. And that's the hardest part to accept. He's got no one to blame but himself. Isak went on strike. He refused to play while pushing for a move away from Newcastle, and he missed crucial weeks of training. Now he's paying the price. Up here in the northeast, we saw it coming. Eddie Howe and his staff warned that he would struggle physically, that without a proper preseason and with his injury record, it would be tough to adapt. And look at that, they were spot on. At the end of the day, Mags, it's the same old story. You reap what you sow. Isak chose to walk out of Newcastle through the back door in a completely unprofessional way, and now, instead of being Liverpool's £125 million solution, he's become a big problem. Now let's move on to the second story, and this one is the kind that makes you breathe a sigh of relief and smile from ear to ear. Newcastle had come off a few slip-ups that left the fans with that nervous feeling, the sense that the team was playing well, but the results just weren't coming. Well, in the Champions League, against Union SG, the team hit back with style. And what style? 4 goals away from home, a proper hammering that left no doubts whatsoever. 2 from Anthony Gordon, who is absolutely flying and proving more and more that is one of the pillars of this squad. 1 from Nick Woltermate, who arrived with a lot of pressure but is already showing personality. And another from Harvey Barnes, back to his best and reminding everyone just how decisive he can be. It was a complete performance, start to finish, without giving the Belgians a moment to breathe. And listen, this result was far more than just a simple win. It was a message. Newcastle showed that we've got the squad, the intensity, and that we can take on any European giant head-on. After that gut-wrenching end against Arsenal and a season that was starting to look a bit shaky, this win felt like a massive shot of confidence. It was the spark the fans had been waiting for to reignite the fire. And you know when a victory speaks for itself. This was exactly that. But there was one reaction that summed it all up better than any analysis. Alan Shearer, the biggest legend in the club's history, the man who is pretty much the voice of the fans on Tyneside, posted just 8 words on X, formerly Twitter, great away performance. Just what was needed. Simple, direct, and perfect. Because when Shearer speaks, no one needs to add anything. He captured exactly what every black and white fan felt: pride, confidence, and the sense that we are on the right path. And more than that, this victory wasn't just about the 3 points or the Champions League table. It restored a winning mentality, showed that Eddie Howe's work is still solid, and that the squad is united, even after so many challenges. It was the kind of performance that silences critics, strengthens the dressing room, and builds morale for the tough run of fixtures ahead. Now, the big challenge is simple, but not easy. Replicate this in the Premier League. Newcastle needs to turn this European performance into fuel for domestic matches as well. If we can build some momentum and start racking up wins in the league, this season, which began with UPS and downs, can finally kick into gear and put US back on track. At the end of the day, fans, this win was exactly what we needed to see. Intensity, goals, confidence, and a reminder that this Newcastle has the potential to make history, not just in England, but all across Europe. And here we are, mate, the main story of the day, so pay attention because this one is making a lot of noise. Imagine this, Geordie, there are already people whispering behind the scenes that Eddie Howe could be considered to take charge at Manchester United if Ruben Amorim gets the sack. Sounds like a joke, right? But the situation over there in Manchester really is a mess. Amorim, who arrived with all that expectation, has only managed to win 9 out of 33 Premier League matches. That's a shocking number, and that's why part of their fanbase is already calling for him to be shown the door. And then, as always happens, names start flying around. But do you know who's suddenly in the middle of this rumor? Our very own Gaffo, Eddie Howe. And the reaction to that was, at the very least, curious. Peter Crouch, former England striker and now pundit, had his say. And when he heard Howe's name linked to United, he literally burst out laughing. Couldn't hold it in. And what was his answer? Straight to the point, but why would he leave Newcastle? You'd never swap Newcastle for the chaos that United have become. And let's be honest, he's spot on. If you look at the current picture, Newcastle have a clear project, owners who are investing, and a passionate fanbase that pushes the team in every competition. Meanwhile, Manchester United, ever since Ferguson left, has been nothing but chaos. Let's remember, David Moyes, Van Gaal, Mourinho, Solskjaer, Ten Hag, and now Amorim, every single one of them left with their reputation damaged. That club, once a model for the world, has turned into a pressure cooker where any manager becomes the villain in just a matter of months. And it wasn't only Peter Crouch who spoke out. Even Alan Pardew, who once managed our Newcastle, joined the conversation and made it clear, forget Howe, is not leaving Newcastle. And that makes total sense. Howe has a solid project in his hands, with young players, a competitive squad, and a bright future in both the Champions League and the Premier League. He's a fundamental piece in rebuilding this club, and the respect he's earned with the fans is massive. Swapping all of that for Manchester United that's lost, directionless, and drowning in uncontrolled pressure? It just doesn't make sense. It would be like throwing everything away. At Newcastle, Howe is respected, valued, and backed by the board. At United, he'd run the risk of becoming just another name on the long list of post-Ferguson failures. So, Geordie, rest easy. This speculation is nothing more than rumors, and everything points to Eddie Howe staying strong at the helm of our Newcastle, focused on taking the club further and further. And I'll ask you this, can you honestly imagine Eddie Howe walking away from the amazing project he himself has been building at Newcastle just to dive into that mess Manchester United have turned into? Because, honestly, in my mind, it makes no sense at all. The man has the respect of the fans, control of the dressing room, a board that backs his ideas, and above all, a massive future ahead here at St. James Park. Now, if he went to United, what would he find? Extreme pressure, a split dressing room, impatient fans, and a clueless board, basically, the perfect recipe to ruin any manager's career. But I want to know what you think. Do you reckon there's even the slightest chance Howe would accept something like that? Or do you agree with Peter Crouch and Alan Pardew, who said it's complete madness? Drop your opinion in the comments, because this debate is going to be fiery. And more. If you were a manager yourself, would you walk away from Newcastle today to take over Manchester United? I want to hear your answers, because the voice of the fans always makes this space even richer. So that's it, Geordie. Another day packed with hot stories and big news about our Newcastle United, the most passionate club in England. If you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, smash the like to help us out, and turn on notifications so you don't miss a thing happening behind the scenes at our club. Every subscription, every comment, and every like makes a huge difference and helps this project grow so we can keep bringing you quality content. Thanks as always for your company, and I'll see you in the next video. Because here, you already know, Newcastle never stops, and neither do we.